check. All right. Everyone, welcome to the stream. And the question of the evening is, am I un-American? Is the American pistol / rifle optics company, Gideon Optics, are they un-American? Are the several companies, including, I guess, Sig Sauer, are they un-American because their manufacturing processes for a majority of their optics are based in other countries, namely like China and whatnot? That's always kind of the question or the concern when people are buying Second Amendment type things. Oh, is it American made? Is it foreign made? If it's made in Austria, I think most people don't care. If it's made in China, some people care. And we recently had a conversation with Mike, formerly Swamp Fox Mike, and before that, Primary Arms Mike, and then Swamp Fox Mike, and then now he's like Gideon Mike, but he doesn't go by Gideon Mike. At least I don't think he does. And he and I, we don't like go back. We're not like besties, right? Although don't tell him that. But we are, I guess, something of colleagues in the space. You see each other at events, smile, ask about the families. It's one of those things where when he saw me at the NRA convention, it was an instant yes and an instant, hey, can we get you on the show like right now? To go and actually bring him on the show. And I'm really glad we did, because about 40,000 of you were interested enough in what he had to say at the time of this recording, and obviously it'll go up from here. Were interested in what he had to say about optics. The premise of, or the way I framed it, was you're being ripped off, but as in you're being ripped off because there's a lot of these optics that are really expensive. And I'm talking like MSRP is like $850. You can buy versions that are $950. There's an actual optic, and people are arguing with me about this. And I'm not even like an optics guy. Like I don't really care. Like I shoot optics. Optics are on all my guns now. I didn't used to do that, but now I do. But I don't really care what you got. If you want to Gucci out and get, all Surefire, all Trijicon, all American brands, sweet. But just know that these American brands are able to even exist because of one major reasons. And can we say it with me? Government contracts. Surefire, one of my favorite brands. They've supported what we do, which is crazy considering we're still very small in this small fish in the big pond of gun tubers and such. They exist and have continued to exist, charging the premiums that they charge mainly because of government contracts, and they can exist on the scale that they exist. And you notice that because there's like, you notice the government contract type companies, because they're the ones who like fail to innovate hard when other companies around them are really pushing the limits of what the technology of the day can do. And not to say that they haven't said like, hey, other companies are pushing Candela. Let's bring back the turbo line and, do a little bit more with the tech that we have available to us without changing too much to the point where it's not going to be advantageous to the end user and to the armorer. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these companies, they're not really making products for you. They're making products for the people who are requesting massive batches. You know what I mean? Government contracts. Say it with me now. Government contracts changes everything, which some would say that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we have American companies that can feed American mouths and American children and can support American schools. But also on the other side, the question is, this is just a theory, how much of these prices are massively inflated because of government contract bidding, and the ability to sell to that client. Say, hey, police force wants, 1,000 lights. They're just throwing out a number. Oh, the Border Patrol wants another order of 500 X300s. Okay, cool. Talk about optics. Okay, well, the new RCR is out by Trijicon. We need to get 500 to this agency, 500 to this department. It's like, okay, they're going to buy it regardless. The end user, on the other hand, is I think we struggle with that hype beast culture, as in we see the product, we get what's called gear acquisition syndrome, and we just go crazy. We're just like, oh my gosh, there's a new Trijicon optic, gotta go buy it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I want it too, but that's $1,000. One thing that I saw, and this kind of really frustrated me, was a lot of guys saying, hey, listen, you're saying it's $1,000. There are no pistol optics out there that are $1,000. And I'm like, a quick Google search will point you to specifically the Trijicon RCR. Will point you to the Acro P2, which is like 800-ish bucks. Or is it 750 now? I don't want to get it wrong because people get really upset at that. Quick Google search will point you to the RMR Type 2, which is MSRP'd at $850. Yes, you can buy them for closer to $650, $750. Street price is a little bit different, but it's still absurdly expensive for technology that is like older than 10 years old at this point. When did the RMR come out? Great question. I'll pull that up at some point. But the tech really hasn't changed. Okay, imagine if you paid flat screen TV prices for the same exact tech that you did 10 years ago. You'd be upset. Now, if your TV doesn't have, built-in Roku, you're upset. Guess what? Before my grandmother passed, I bought her a TV with a built-in Roku for like under $100. Back in my day, oh my gosh, that was unheard of. Why? Because the markets do expand, right? And manufacturing processes get better. So just all in all, that said, let's kind of get to the point, right? Because you're probably like, oh, what's your point, dude? Point is, you're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be upset. And I'm allowed to question the practices, the buying practices, purchasing practices of you right here, Gundork. I know you're watching, Gundork. I'm allowed to question your purchasing practices and say like, hey, if you want to spend, let's say street price on an RCR, $900 or $850, let's say $850. If you want to spend $850 on an RCR, when you should be spending an additional $300 on ammunition, or let's say spending $200 on a class that'll actually get you better. That's also your prerogative. Like, I would love to see us as hyped for the next, not even for the next class, because I think even classes get kind of hyped. I would love to see us get hyped for the next dry fire session. I would love to see us get excited for that, or get excited to get our guys together at the range and say like, hey, let's get a little bit better. I would love to see that, but obviously, that's not sexy. It's not like the thing. You can't unbox a range session with the boys. So I guess the next RCR will have to do. All right, let's go ahead and get to some of these questions or statements. I see Gundork has been in the chat going nuts, accusing me of streaming late. Yes. Yes, we are streaming late. And before we proceed, I just want to let y'all know that these hats are available. The Gun Club Radio hats. We went through a lot of trouble to have them made. And somebody said, hey, I like that hat. And I was like, you know what? If you want one, I'll sell it to you. There should be a link right in the description in the live stream chat where if you want to pick one up, it is 30 American dollars, only shipping to the States. If you wanted to pick one up, I know that's a little bit much. Doing our best to keep the cost down, but we're not there yet. But if you really want to support what we're doing and some of the crazy stuff that we have to do to kind of create this content, it's a great way to do it. And as a thank you, if you said, shoot, you know what, I'll throw some money at you as a thank you. From now until my birthday, June 6th, D-Day, best day to be born, aside of my kids' birthdays, of course. One of you, I'm gonna throw something else in there. We got a lot of stuff, you know. I'm reaching down for some of my Chinese-made items, right? Got a lot of stuff that I want to give away. I'm gonna give something away, just as a thank you. There's no way for me to kind of like tell you who's gonna get it, but I'm gonna select it randomly. And something extra is going to go to somebody who supports what we do. I'm just going to put it that way. And it may not be one of those two items. It may be the Nova from PowerTech, big supporter of what we're doing here right now. We're going to be covering these lights on the Armed Atlas channel, and hopefully the Nova specifically we'll be covering that here because it's a crazy good light for the price. Oh my gosh, so good. But let's get back to it. We've been talking about me. I want to talk about you. Of course, you're late streaming. Thanks, Gundoric. Yeah, I'm late. Streaming late. Said, but an answer. No, it's not un-American. You're free to do business with some guardrails as you wish. But what are these guardrails? Are these guardrails that we can't do business with the Communist Party of China? I'm not endorsing them. I think they're wild and wicked and ungodly. But, you know, as of right now, majority of American business is done there. And if you talk to anybody who actually is in charge of manufacturing, they will tell you it is impossible to manufacture in America and not charge like 10 times what things should cost. Now, unless you're a legacy brand like Trijicon, you know, it's hard to get your foot in the door. It's impossible. You're free to make things here or offshore, and the consumer is free to buy that or not buy that. You're correct. Now, the question is, if a budding company like, I don't want to keep bringing up Gideon because it makes it sound like I'm like bought and paid for. I think they sent me one thing in the last year. I did recently request something else. And I guess that's another conversation of like, people are really quick to say, hey, they sent me this product, but this isn't a sponsored video. It actually is. Like, it is. Like, that's how the FCC, that's how the FCC defines sponsored. So I think we should just as a society, especially as a gun community, kind of get a little bit more, get our heads on straight, because we are really weird about like if a creator takes a paycheck to prioritize a video in the endless stream of videos that you have to make. If a company's like, hey, could you make a video on our product? And it's like, oh, well, I was going to anyways, but how much money? Yeah, I'll make the video today. But you can't tell me what to say, right? And they're like, okay, yeah. But then people will be quick to call them shill. In fact, people will be quick to call them shill if you got some and you had to send it back. It's so weird. It's really weird. I'm not trying to bash viewers, but I think we should probably spend a little bit less time freaking out on creators and a little bit more time being like discerning and say like, hey, I've watched 5 different reviews, and I've read 2 Reddit posts, and I met 1 or 2 guys in real life who has the product. I think it's actually maybe good enough to spend money on. Like, do a little research. Um, mm, Talking about Gundork, what are you saying? But one container being pulled off the ship from offshore countries employs 7 American dock workers. Ooh. Oh, you know what? So here we go. Here we go. Because the economy of things, um, this is actually this is a big deal, right? Everything that we do, somebody's involved. Even in where AI is involved. Like I had to go get some art commissioned the other day, and there are um, categories. There are actual categories for AI artists or guys who kind of like work with the AI to make it do what you want it to do because you're not good enough to do that. They are. Um, I think that's interesting. And guys, if you could actually hit like on the stream, there's a few of you watching, and not as many people have actually hit like. And if you are not subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe. You have the ability to chat if you do that. Everything that we do creates work. Even eating food, right? You put the stuff in the trash, somebody's got to come pick up that trash, and someone's got to get paid to do that. So I guess we have advertisements on today. So sorry about that, guys. We'll get to a point where we turn those back off, but we haven't had any new members sign up in a while, and we've got to pay some bills. So it's a legitimate condition. Guardrails, as in minimum wages, ecological impacts, safety. You sound like a liberal. I like it. So, yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we talk about. Does everybody know? Everybody here knows about like cobalt mines, right? And how it's kind of widely known that kids like leave school and sometimes never go to school to go work in these cobalt mines to make sure our Teslas have batteries. I think that's wild. That's wild. Somebody was making a joke the other day that it's a shame that a grown man has to, or that grown men have to go into the mines, these wet and dirty coal mines, and slave away all day to get the coal that we need to do X, Y, and Z. And then someone was like, yeah, that's a job for a kid. What are we doing? A little dark humor never killed anyone. In the 90s, Walmart was the nation's largest employer. Fast forward to today, Amazon is turning into the largest employer, which is just a logistics company. And it's fascinating how that works, right? Things change. Somebody was like, yeah, manufacturing really can't come back to the US because that's kind of like a trademark of developing countries is physical labor. Once you start to kind of develop as a country and kind of grow, you kind of move away from those things. I think that's partially true. I think there's a certain level of manufacturing that has to happen in countries that are advanced enough to do it well. I was looking for some furniture the other day, and I realized that it didn't matter what country you bought it from. There was options that are like $3,000 for like a chair, or $5,000 for like a chair, and you're just like, it's a chair. I can go get one for like $50 or less, but it just depends on what you want, I guess. The current press credit, he's trying to undo 40 years of business production. My issue is he's doing stick versus carrot approach. You know what? Did the carrot work or did the stick work? The carrot, lower taxes, incentives, the stick, penalties to increase your cost of business. Automation has taken over more jobs than people really understand. And the question is, are the guys who are in charge of keeping up with the automation, are they being compensated well for that work? Or I have a buddy who actually, he goes in and builds the plants pretty much like, oh, well, we're going to go build an Amazon warehouse and whatever. Like, what's the deal with that? Um, and he's paid well, but the question is like, would he be better off uh, kind of working in a plant? Would he be better off? And I think the answer depends on back in the day. Depends on what plant, right? If you're in a chicken plant and they're paying $7.50 or $8 an hour for you to shove your hands in some chickens, that's gotta suck. Anyways, just a real quick update. If you are watching live, go ahead and hit like because it helps the video get out to more people and it helps YouTube to know that firearms friendly content is cool. Period. That's all I got to say. And guys, I want to talk like 30 seconds about this light. This is called the Flex Beam. It's fascinating. It truly is like fascinating. I was at work because I do private security, right? Some people know that, some people don't. That's just one of my many gigs. And I was showing my my site supervisor. I was showing him the light, and I was like, "Hey, bro, check this out. Like, I have two. I have the Warrior Flood, and then I have the Flex Beam, and I have both of them because you need more than one light if you're going to be working at night. Because two is one is none, three is ideal. So I pulled out like it has like a really tight cone, right? And as you twist the head of the light, the cone expands, and as you counter twist it, it goes down into like a little like pinpoint beam, so bright and precise that you can actually see like the LED chip if you're really close, or if you're, I will say 200 yards away, or maybe up to 3. We've tested it about that far. You can see an extremely sharp, precise beam, and you'd be able to actually make out movement from about that far away. Now, are your eyes going to be good enough to actually see anything that far away? Probably not. You're probably not that good. So it has its limits, but it's interesting. So back to the questions, right? Because we were talking about, am I un-American? Am I un-American for asking the question of should we allow, or should we be cool with like companies like Gideon Optics, like Holosun? Holosun's a huge supporter of what we do, so I'm gonna rep them until I find out for sure that they're doing something crazy, because people have tried to accuse them of all sorts of slander. I'm gonna be cool with the guys at Holosun because they've been very cool to me and supporting what we do, and they actually gave me the 507 competition to give to you. So once we hit, I think we have like 15 more channel members to gain. Like if we get like 15 more, we're gonna give one of these away to some of the channel members and or some of the guys in the Discord group, because there's a Discord group. And if you need the Discord, let me know. I'll post it in the chat, but you gotta let me know. Well, I'm not gonna bother posting it. Gundork is sharing some secrets. What company do you work for, Gundorks? Said, I work in tech automation. In 1 month, the systems I maintain made about 600,000 phone calls in 1 month. 200,000 were sent to a human. Gosh. And I'm working to reduce those 200,000s. He said he'll tell me offline. Yes, because that's actually personal, right? And I was joking with the question. Like I was hoping you wouldn't be slow enough to answer that on Joe Biden's internet. Yeah. So, man, I'm not going to string for too much longer, guys. We're getting to that 30-minute mark, but I do want to hang out with you guys for a bit longer. And I'm going to turn on some music. Let me know if it's too loud or too obnoxious. Yeah, Joe Biden's in it. Yeah. Who was it back in the, was it Dick Cheney, Al Gore's internet? So that used to be the saying, but now it's, things have changed. Times have changed. Anyways, my question is, right, we're talking about optics. Of the mid-grade or cheap optics, so what is mid-grade, first of all, right? Because we have like the premium guys, like the Acros and the Acro P2, which was like premium. We had the Strigicons. Those are all pretty premium. We have, who else do we have? Let's just say those companies. And then we go to like middle of the pack guys. I feel like there's a pretty steep drop off. I guess the Aim Point is on there. Well, Holosun used to be like a joke. And I think we can all agree Holosun used to be a joke. Oh, they got the gimmick little holographic stuff. It used to be like the, I'm going to say like the Olight, although I feel like Olight's making some changes. Vortex, yep. Vortex is interesting because I hear they make great like actual glass for like hunting, but their pistol optics are kind of middle of the pack. Like the Defender V1 was not good. The V2 or the XT or whatever it is like phenomenal, right? People love that. And then who else? We got to keep throwing some names out there. I'm going to actually open up the chat for those who want to chat, but without subscribing, because, you know, that's not weird. And so that's my question, right? Is like, what is middle of the pack? And then we have the, I guess, the kind of like lower tier the lower tiers. I'll put Gideon in kind of like that lower tier, because they're just starting. A lot of their options are still $200. Like, unless you're selling like $300 and $400 optics, I'm gonna put you in that lower tier of like super accessible, easy to get into, especially if you have a pistol optic that has a 1 in front of it. Like if you're like at 100 and something, like, okay, yeah, that's a little lower. DJ Play Nice in the building. Thank you. Okay. Dragonfly Hex is made by individuals who have aged out of their production line. Is that the one that Springfield made? Dragonfly Hex. Let me pull it up. Oh my gosh, Hex Optics. Oh, yeah. Why do they have their own website and everything? I'm gonna throw it on screen for those who are watching. Ooh, that's a big old thing. Yeah. He said yes, it's caca. Yeah, actually, I'll say this, right? I knew a guy who he used to work at Springfield, and he actually was in charge of getting me my first industry gun. And basically, I actually paid for that gun, but I paid industry prices, which is like 40% off, which was great at the time because I didn't have a ton of money when I was first getting started. In fact, I still don't have a ton of money. Please buy the merch. It should be linked in the pinned comment if you want to drop in and grab a hat. I'm just letting you guys know. We have about 8 more hats on the wall right now. I can order more, but between now and June 6th, anyone who buys a hat, I'm gonna kind of put you in like a little bit of a drawing. really, I'm just going to throw something nice into, maybe this, maybe something else. I'm going to throw something nice into the box, and it's going to be nice. So if you want to participate in that, cool. One of you might just get something. No guarantees, no promises, but I'm a man of my word. So somebody said, Hollow Sun. Okay, so the gun. Let's try to remember. So he was talking. Okay. Oh, we were talking about the optics, right? Because I was like, hey, is it possible to get an optic? I don't mind paying, but can I buy the optic off of you? And he's like, yeah. Let me send you an SMSC from Shield Optics. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what happened to the one that kind of comes with it? He's like, trust me, it's better. I'm like, oh. If the guy who works for Springfield says that, that's a glowing endorsement. All right. C said, Hollow Sun Josh is the GOAT. C also try to get me back on track. I appreciate that. Do I know C? C, are you new here? Are you subscribed? Because I feel like this is our first time interacting. If not, welcome to the show. Check your Discord DMs and dork. Anyways, so let's get back to business, guys. What are we talking about? We were talking about optics. We were talking about Gideon. We were talking about kind of like the different levels of optic. Does anyone still run Crimson Trace? I feel like I haven't seen them in a while. Let me pull them up. What's Crimson Trace making? What has Crimson Trace made in the last 3 years? Ah, jeez. All right. Tornado warning is kicking on over in Gundork's area. Y'all say a quick prayer and for Gundork and his people in that city. Yeah, just check in with me when in a while. Let me know you're doing all right, bud. Ooh, the storms are coming through. Weather was kind of crazy. All right, looks like the sirens are coming on. Hey, you be safe, okay, man? Check in with me when you get done with all that. All right, DJ Play Nice said, what have you done for me lately? Yeah. Okay, so it looks like Crimson Trace is making a whole lot of stuff. Let me see if I can't save this image. This is their here we go. Sorry, I went full screen. Never go full screen. Looks like they're making all sorts of stuff. They're making LPVOs. They're making lasers. They're making all sorts of fun stuff. Now the question is it airsoft, or is it actually halfway decent? And does the price tag tell the story, right? Has anybody ever broken a Crimson Trace anything? Has anyone ever lost 0 on a Crimson Trace anything? Or is it because the price tag is so low and I always associate them with cheap guns and people who don't know firearms, and like High Point, which the High Point guys have been really nice to me, but they have a very inexpensive product that is ugly and unwieldy, and that's really all I can say. Universal pistol lights. All right, so I really hope this is clearly an image on the screen. I really hope that they don't said, I don't have a Crimson Trace anything. Yeah, I don't personally have any Crimson Trace anything. I don't have the need to, but this is the universal pistol light, right? Right here, I just went ahead and grabbed the image off their website, drag and drop. What, like what holster does that fit into? You know, like, to me, part of design is like thoughtful design and realizing where you are in the market. Now, this is a picture of a LPVO that they made, $1,000 LPVO, which is actually really cheap. 6-24 LPVO. It's pretty inexpensive. It's more expensive than the Gideon stuff, and apparently this is their new thing. The Hardline Pro, 6-24. A lot of cool things coming up about this. I'm curious to see how well they did on that. Let's also take a look. I'm going to get this off the screen. M. Gabriel, welcome to the show, man. Haven't seen you in a minute. Heavy recoil optic. What does that even mean? That joint look like it belongs on the head of one of the new AIs that are going to come exterminate our species. This is one of the classics, obviously. We all know the $250 CTS 1250 compact open reflex sight. And the question is any of this actually bad, or do I just associate it with cheapness and like just nonsense? You know, like, I don't know. Somebody said they don't want to buy, and this, I swear to goodness, I get the craziest comments sometimes. They wouldn't buy a pistol optic that costs less than their gun. And their thought process was, well, if they're selling it for, say, $600, then the company, I'm sorry, if retail is selling it for $600, that means that let's say Hollison's sitting right in front of me. We're giving one of these away, right? So Hollison would have sold it for $300. If we bought it retail $600, Hollison sold it to retailer for $300. That's their math. This individual who commented, they don't know the numbers, but that's the math that they're giving me, right? I'm like, okay, cool. Assuming that that's the case, what else? And then they say, well, and Hollison has to make margin, so their product with the electronics that they're pulling and the labor and all that, they're in to that optic for at least half of that. So about $150 or something like that. So if you go cheaper and say, okay, well, I have a $200 optic, and then half of that is $100, and then half of that is $50. I don't want, specifically, they were talking about like Gideon optics, right? They don't want an optic that had $50 worth of tech and labor into it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I reached out to an individual who I know works in optics, and they kind of explained that the math kind of makes sense, but it's missing like so much like nuance, right? So stuff like that, you got to ignore it because it's not accurate. M. Gabriel said, cheap Chinese optics reliability is significantly improving. Yes. And I'll say, this is my thought process behind why that's happening, is the technology is, how you say, maturing. The tech is maturing. You're not using like brand new tech. We talked about like the TV analogy, right? TVs used to cost like $1,000 for one. Now you can buy it for $100 with all the goodies built into it already. It's not gonna be like top of the line, like next gen, like cutting edge, bleeding edge stuff, right? But it's gonna be good. We have like the RCR, which, you know, I keep bringing it up as like, oh, this is $1,000 optic. God damn. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's $1,000, but it's got probably the best like ambient light sensor in the game. Like right now, it's got the best one. As in the audio adjust is going to go from like really bright to like not so bright, and it's going to be amazing. Now, durability is is the killer in that class. Yeah, so if we talk about cheap Chinese optics that are like $100 to $200, I think once you kind of escape the $200 price point, you're kind of, or if you have a company that primarily exists in like the $300 and up space, I think you're kind of escaping some of that. But what is durability? Like, are we talking about taking the gun, turning it upside down and dropping it like a Sage Dynamics? Because that's almost never going to happen. But if you're like me or like anybody, right, if you get into any sort of like altercation, you might end up rolling, or body weights might end up kind of crushing. And will your optic get completely crushed in an incident where you didn't even get hurt? And now you have to go buy a brand new optic. That's the question, right? So all that to say, this conversation, you know, where we have like 40,000 of you yahoos get just so excited, right? So excited for what? I don't know. Like, but I'm gonna go pull some of these comments, right? Because some of these comments are rude as heck, bro. Like some of y'all were like, oh, I'd rather do this. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, you're this, you're that. Like, somebody said 13 hours ago, when a well-to-do man claims broke, I will never trust or support him. I don't know what that means. Were they talking about me? Or were they talking about Mike? Y'all don't know our situations. Y'all really don't. So there's that. And I don't feel the need to even defend myself. Somebody said in regards to the conversation we had with Mike, call me a skeptic, but the guy is claiming Gideon, Holosun, and a few others cheaper optics are made overseas where labor and manufacturing costs are dirt cheap, and Surgicon and Aimpoint are made in the US and Sweden, hence the cost. And for those companies who are able to lower the price and cut corners, we all know what happens to the quality, and reputation as a consequences. Talk is cheap. Oh man, this comment goes on and on forever. So yeah, I think labor cost is really probably the biggest thing that I will allow in the Trigicon conversation. But how much, like, I think a curious experiment would be to say, like, hey, if we're saying that these American-made optics are so expensive, how much money did that company make last year, and how much did their employees make? If their employees made great money, okay, great. Like, all right, I'm cool with that. As long as they're not like awful human beings, I'm cool with that. You know. Somebody said no solar panel, no want. I'm like, okay. Well, I know a Holosun fanboy when I see one. I respect it, but there's some Holosuns, like the Holosun 507 competition, doesn't have a solar panel. Never did, probably never will. It's a competition optic, you know, but not every optic needs a solar panel on top of it. This is a relatively new thing. Let's see. Let's go to some of the comments that got held up by the YouTube thingamajigger. Somebody said, I can't trust cheap optics, and Gideon is the reason I bought a Gideon Omega and the battery died 6 times. And just kind of going on and on and on about how they had a really bad experience with a Gideon optic. And I say, you know what? Fair. If you bought something and it failed on you, first of all, it's got a lifetime warranty. So make sure to claim that, because I don't want to see you stuck with a broken product. That's so wasteful, bro. And you spent your good hard-earned money on that. Money that should either fed your kids or go towards protecting your kids. And if the thing isn't protecting your kids, it's useless to me. So then someone was like, "Do you need a little red dot to hit something?" And so we have clearly we have some of the iron sight elitist in here. Quick question for the chat: how many of you are still comfortable with your iron sights after so many years of red dots being on the market? Not comfortable as in like, oh, how many red dot guys? But like, if I said like, hey, I'm going to take your red dot from you, you can only run a gun with an iron sight for this competition. Would you be okay with doing that? That's my question. And I'm anxiously awaiting you guys to chime in on that. Some of these guys were angry, right? Because they feel like if we're saying that some of these other companies are overpriced, and we're saying like, hey, we have like $700-800 optics that have been out in the market forever, like, okay, so the RMR came out in 2009. The RMR Type 2, the redesign, 2017. It's been over 15 years. It's been over 15 years, and the product is still expensive. I'm trying to see what the original MSRP was. Can't find it. It's still $850. That's the MSRP. That's just crazy to me. DJ Play and I said you have to consider comments to be a little something that a stranger says without a filter after listening to you for 30 seconds. Yeah, I mean, I don't take it too seriously, but some of these guys are just like bonkers. I'm like, geez. Video does well, and all of a sudden we brought all the crazies out. Speaking of crazy, I am, for those of you who need a crazy light, PowerTech. It's a company I met at NRA. I've met them several years. I've run their lights for years. I have the Warrior, and I have one of those I'm going to give away, and I'm going to give away a Flex Beam. Flex Beam is, I'm going to read from the box, capable of shooting 700 meters, which is like between, meters kind of equate to yards more or less. So let's just say 500 yards, which is crazy. I can confirm at least 300. At least 300, crystal clear. And this one's water resistant, which is nice. 1200 lumens, not that crazy. The Warrior, which I'm giving one of those away, is 4000 lumens. Crazy bright, very good. So M. Gabriel said, I need an optic cut or Picatinny rail. Oh my. You're hilarious. No filter, that's me. Yeah. And then DJ Play Night said, still on irons, however, my eyesight is starting to go. Yeah, I forgot, DJ, you're a little bit up there, but that's okay. Get you a dot, you'll be all right. I need to reevaluate. I can see, including something. Now my eyesight's starting to go. I can see including something now, but it'd be a real departure from my current carry comfort zone. Yeah, Are you still on revolvers? What are you shooting? Because I remember last time we talked to you, you were kind of like talking about revolvers. I don't know if you actually carry one or if you were just hyping them up. Gringo 111 said last year, buy your made in China stuff now because I have a feeling that over the next few years prices will climb as our de facto Cold War with them heats up. No shame in Hollison or Gideon. Here's the thing, right? Hollison is a little bit more of a Chinese company in my eyes just because a lot of what they do is really tied like in China. As in a lot of their manufacturing is like really Chinese, just based on some stuff that I've seen, and I could be wrong, right? But Gideon, and maybe Gideon kind of does the same model, and that's how they're able to kind of keep prices low and still put out like pretty compelling stuff, right? But as far as I know, Gideon's an American-made company. The owner is an American dude who like is beloved. Like people who know him are just like, this guy's like the guy, right? But yet, because they have to manufacture overseas, because you cannot get away with manufacturing in the States. The woman who owns Cakes Concealment Bags is an American. She's an immigrant, immigrated when she was 8 years old. And, you know, she works for the DOD now. She's like an amazing human being in a lot of ways, and is really kicked off or like busted into the American concealed carry market, offering a product that I think is really compelling for ladies who are interested in carrying on body. Off body, on body, satchel carry, you know? But yet, that is not made here. In fact, I think it's made in like Bangladesh, which isn't China. And I think that's enough for most people, right? But she goes through the trouble of making sure like everything's quality. Guys, like the stream. I'm not gonna ask again. I'm just not gonna say anything. But here's the question: is like if you have crazy quality control, you know, that's one thing. Is that good enough for you? If you said, hey, this product's made in China, right? But like, you open the box, you put it on, it's gonna work. You give it a little bump, you know, you knock it around, you maybe drop it once, it's gonna work. Now, if you just drag it through the mud, it's gonna break. Like, don't be silly. It's made of glass. Hold on. Is Gideon associated with JDS Supply or what company? I'm not 100% sure. I know JDS Supply is High Point. I don't think they're the same company. Hold on, let me see if I can find out. Okay. M. Gabriel, I don't believe Gideon is JDS Supply. If I'm wrong, apologies. But I know that the owner does own a few other things. Here we go. So DJ Play Nice said primarily Walthers, and secondary is a mini revolver. Nice. Gringo said, as long as QC is good, I'm willing to try it. With that said, I prefer it be made in a country like Japan, the Philippines, Thailand. You know, one place companies have never explored Central and South America. You know, you say that until you realize, I guess, where was Taurus originate? Where does Taurus originate? Is Taurus originally a South American company, or is it Central? Brazil. Yeah. Yeah, so Taurus Firearms is originally from Brazil. Taurus Arms. And people, I think it's so interesting, right? Because we have the issue of like Turkish brands like really taking over and kind of like either doing well or not doing well. Like, you know, most Turkish guns and stuff are like fine. At the very least, they're fine. And sometimes they're sneaky good. Sometimes they're just like, how did you let that get through? Specifically, like with the TTI Combat, I don't think. I have one. Canik sent me one. Canik also sent me their Prime. But just based on the comments that I got from the TTI Combat video, I'm a little slower to recommend it to people because of so many comments kind of complaining that the gun wasn't performing correctly for a lot of people. Now, some of that I've heard from people at Canik is like, hey, Taran kind of screwed them by requesting or asking this gun to be built out in a certain way with like such interesting kind of like tolerances. The way the gun was built, like springs, this and this and this, because he runs such fancy loads. But then, you know, some of the conversation around why the gun was failing was like, hey, my striker was like getting warped. I'm like, that's got nothing to do with the springs, I don't think. Not the springs we're talking about. Gundork said back, keeping an eye on the weather, but things break, especially the mileage. I get on my competition guns. I shot a match Saturday, trained another 500 rounds after. Yeah. Gundork, welcome back. I'm glad to see you're doing okay. But yes, things break. Things break, especially if you shoot a glorified CZ like a 10-4. Made by the finest future emphysema. What is, yeah, listen, you're gonna get somebody in trouble. My wife is from Colombia. There you go. Surprisingly good skilled labor, but no job opportunities. South America is ripe with rare earth minerals too. So should we go like full like Avatar, like Pandora, and just go raise the jungles of South America? Did you say oil? Cue the American Eagles. Turkish gun makers. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Anyways, we've been going on for a while, guys. We're an hour into the stream. We're doing good. But, talking about, Gringo said, man, I can't trust anything made in Turkey unless it's a balaclava. You're hilarious. And a wild human for saying that. Man. Turkey. Speaking of Turkish guns, what do you guys think about the Prime? I like mine. I thought it was really good. A fellow content creator asked me if she should buy one, and I was like, depends on for what. Do you want to carry it? Because if you don't plan on carrying this gun, I wouldn't buy it. I mean, if you didn't plan on carrying it, I think it's a great carry gun. Like if I didn't own an X Macro, that would be a great option to carry, especially when you consider that at night, the comp is not nearly as strong as like the Radian. I say that, but actually that's not true. The comp doesn't look like it would be as effective as like the Radian afterburner ramjet on like the 365, right? That build out. It doesn't look like it would be as effective, although I think in practice with the right grip and everything, ammo types, I think it is technically a more flat gun. I got to do a little bit more research to really crack those numbers in. I really haven't touched that gun a lot recently. But on the other side, TTI Combat, it's no longer super hyped. So like if you are a content creator looking to buy it, I'm like, kind of missed the train. Maybe there's some videos to be made. I don't know. That's some meta commentary on content creators, right? But did we want a Canic made in America? Did we want that? Or did we want that little bit cheaper cost? What's important? What's important to the brand, you know? There's a saying that we Eurotrash people say, smoke like a Turk. Gosh. I almost forgot you're of European descent or of European origin. Anyways, guys, it's getting late. It's almost 12 o'clock on my side. Y'all should go to bed, and I'm gonna demand it by ending the stream in 3, 2, 1.